We're on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I am your host for the evening, and I figured since we went on about the Anhedenia film, we are doing a film that has become one of Dustin's favorite films, and I figure. First of all, I would say what IMDb says about the film. So mutant lizards attack a woman on the run, hiding out in a cabin in the woods. It's very vague. The film is called Aberration.
And that's pretty much what it's about. It's a very weird movie. That essentially you get what Dave described. The reason I like it is because it's got a lot of really cool biology in it. So the lizards kind of evolve in real time. So like they kill one with pesticide, and then the next lizard they try to kill gets immune to the pesticide. Like they shoot one, the next one has skin that's too thick for them to shoot with the BB gun that they were using. Just kind of stuff like that. Like they try to drown one, gills pop open on its neck. It has just really fun creatures, and that's why I enjoy it so much.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of an Evil Dead feel to it too, with them being stuck in the cabin. And the main guy even looks a little bit like Bruce Campbell, just a little bit, don't you think?
Nowhere near the charisma though.
Winter setting.
I would have said this reminded me of John Carpenter's The Thing, except that instead of the creature turning into humans, it's like if you took John Carpenter's The Thing and instead you had Doomsday, the comic book Doomsday, who can adapt to whatever thing you throw at him, because here the creatures evolve out of necessity, so it's a slightly different conceit, but it's basically the snowy setting that makes it hard to get around, people trapped, in a secluded spot, and a creature that is very, very hard to kill and very adaptable. It's my brain immediately went to John Carpenter's The Thing a little bit.
The film was filmed in 1997, the same year as Anaconda. And from what I understand, it showed up on the Sci-Fi Channel, if I remember correctly.
Yep, that's where I first saw it. I actually know a lot about this movie. I think it was made in New Zealand, if I remember correctly. And it kind of didn't really get distribution, so it's only available on VHS, in the US. I think a DVD was made in some random foreign country. And while I was actually
only in French dub.
It was on Artisan Entertainment in the USA on VHS.
I've been trying to get a VHS copy of it for a while, but it's kind of people charge $10 to $20 for it, and it's kind of not quite worth that much to me. But anyway,
it's funny. Its release date was July 9th of 1998 in Singapore. So IMDb says 1997, and yet its release was the year afterwards.
Well, they list a festival date, which goes to my point that festival dates are not release dates, but they do list a Swedish festival in 97, and that's why they have it listed as 97. Mm-hmm. Strangely enough, IMDb says nothing about the US or New Zealand release.
Well, in any case,
like I said, it's very odd. I was looking on eBay for a VHS copy, and I stumbled across a cast and crew shirt that was actually Pamela Gidley, the lead actress.
Did you want to show it to us real quick?
It's kind of buried in my closet, so I actually can't. But I have Pamela Gidley's. Pamela Gidley passed away a while ago, and it was kind of an estate sale sort of thing. So I have the lead actress's cast and crew shirt from this movie, and it's like a mosaic of tan, brown, and black lizards.
Okay.
And it says like something has evolved. And it's actually pretty cool. Like it's something I would wear if it wasn't so rare.
Right.
I would have to say similarities in Anaconda to this one is that it has a very small cast.
Mhm.
It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in its cast, where it has Pamela Gidley playing Amy Harding or Alex Langdon, Simon Boxell, who plays Marshall Clark, Valerie Nikolaev as Yuri Romanov, or
the random European guy who just shows up.
Right.
Yeah,
the best.
Helen Mulder as Mrs. Miller, Norman Forsey as Mr. Peterson, Merlin as Frank the cat.
Best
or
character.
Frankie. So, I guess we have Simon Boxell playing Marshall Clark here. And Marshall Clark is evidently he is a research student.
Hey, Dave, shouldn't we do first impressions before we go into characters?
Yeah. Let's do first impressions first. Jake, why don't we go with your first impression? Then we'll go over to Dustin here.
This was definitely my first time seeing this. I probably would never have heard of it, except that I think Destin has probably mentioned it a few times. I feel like it's come up in conversation more than once. This was a film. My dad used to be fond of the phrase, it started off slow and tapered off. And it was kind of like that until they killed the cat. And then I was a hair away from seriously going, just fuck this movie. I'm done. Because the cat was the best character.
This is a rough movie on pets.
It starts off with absolutely no reason to have any sympathy, empathy, or even interest in the main actress. Yeah. She's cute, but that's it. And I was watching a terrible copy on YouTube, so I didn't even have that really going for it.
That is literally the best quality you can get of this movie.
Marshall was goofy. There was almost nothing good to hook me in, and then they killed the cat, and then I was like, but I kept at it. And the movie kind of in a weird way, it kind of grows on you. It's like as you watch it, you're kind of like, it gets a little bit better. It gets, essentially once they start to bond, it's like she flips a switch and it becomes a completely different character. And from a dramatic storytelling standpoint, it's not so great, but it definitely livens the interest. It's like the first time I watched Gone with the Wind, and I was bored to tears until a friend and I started watching it MST3K style, and then suddenly it was hilarious, and it was kind of like that, and then when Yuri shows up, I mean, everything we were talking about with John Voight in the other film about how slimy and creepy and campy he is, Yuri is like, he makes John Voight's character look like a well-modulated, Oscar-worthy performance. He is so over the top here, and it's but it was what the movie kind of needed, and so in a sense, my first impression is not that this is a great film. Again, Anaconda almost looks like a great film next to this, but I found it much more entertaining than I thought I would. Let's give it that.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the MST3K thing, because I was watching this film. I'll just go ahead and do my impression while I'm at it. But I watched this movie on the same day as I watched Anaconda. I just watched them one after the other. It was Sunday.
Yeah, I had about 3 hours between.
Yeah, well, I had I had the time, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna actually devote my time to doing this again because I miss the repartee that we all have. But anyway, I watched this movie, and it was the crappy copy on YouTube, which is about the only way that one can realistically watch it. And the video quality was crap, which again can't be helped. But I watched it largely in conjunction with some of the. I had been kind of retroactively catching up on one of the fallen channel awesome talents that I never watched when I was of that age group, which was Spoonie, and he would do a lot of reviews of FMV PC games and stuff, and do it MST3K style, and it just so happened that the video qualities of both were about the same. The acting quality was about the same. The genres were about the same as like a lot of the FMV games that he would riff on. And it was like, oh shit, this is basically like an FMV game that just doesn't have the commentary track over it. In terms of like video quality and acting quality and also time period. So I thought that was an odd coincidence. But in terms of the movie itself, yeah, I did not really care for the characters. I didn't really think that they gave me a whole lot to rope me in. I didn't recognize any of the cast going into this, and just physically, oh wow, I'm just looking this up. So Frank Welker was the voice of the Anaconda in the last movie, and he was the voice of the geckos in this movie. So there you go.
Really?
Yes, I'm
there.
not even joking. I'm just looking at the
Well,
cast right now.
goddamn.
So we got an overlap here. But anyway, so I didn't recognize the main two actors, Simon Boxell and Pamela Gidley. I did not recognize them, and just visually, I called them not. I called them not Christian Slater and not Anne Heche, because they looked a lot like those two, but I knew that they weren't those two.
Just a little off.
Yeah, but there was very little about them that made me care about them. They didn't really have a lot of chemistry or a lot of charisma or anything like that. Again, the acting quality and the writing was very 90s FMV game, and very especially around the middle point. That's where I was like, okay, this would definitely make for good MST3K material, because there's probably a lot of jokes you could get out of it. But in terms of the parts that Dustin likes about the film, namely the creatures themselves and how fast they evolve and all that stuff, like I was down with all that. I just kind of wish that those creatures, I wish that they could have been served by a more engaging film. And the only thing that I was thinking about was, I was like, okay, so these are reptiles, admittedly extremely fast evolving ones that came from whatever weirdo space goo was around the cabin. And they are fast evolving, and they're having to do so, I assume, in the warmth of the house and in the warmth of the car and the store and all that stuff. Because otherwise, if they were out there in the cold, they would have to evolve against the cold. And who knows if they could do that in time? I mean, I assume so. But then at the same time, would they be reptiles anymore? Probably not. But I assume that they were doing that because the inside of the house is comparatively warmer than the outside. But still, I'm like, well, these are cold-blooded creatures. They're probably not going to be moving around all that fast anyway, with which they could evolve, because it's not
That
like
was-
it's
that was
not like
kinda
it. Go ahead.
That was kind of one thing I liked about this movie, was how, like, it's a very lethal, like, fast evolving species, but they happen to show up with bad timing. Like, they can't handle the cold, and so they all kind of they're all forced to hole up in this cabin.
And that, again, reminded me of John Carpenter's The Thing, because if that thing had crash landed anywhere other than well, the Arctic
Yeah.
in The Thing from Another World, and then Antarctica in John Carpenter's The Thing. If that thing had crashed anywhere else, then it would have taken over our planet like that, And it's like, same thing here. And so I immediately was like, oh, this is like discount FMV game version of The Thing, pretty much, but with a slightly different conceit with the creature.
In reality, ladies and gentlemen, this is the origin story of how the gecko from Geico changed from being the gecko into the Geico caveman.
To be honest, I think reminding me less of the Geico geckos than more of the dragon from How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, but they're not toothless. They're definitely not that.
That or the icky toenail fungus mascot in those commercials.
Lovely monster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dustin, why don't we get your entire first impression?
Well, I first saw this on the Sci-Fi Channel quite a while ago, and I really loved it. Like, I was kind of blown away by it. Like, just the creatures were so cool, and I just loved the concept, even if the movie itself maybe wasn't necessarily all that great. Which I fully acknowledge it's not really a great movie. And I tried to find it for years and years, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And one day, like, I was just kind of randomly looking for it, and I happened to find it on YouTube. And that's kind of where I started to, like, look into its history, and apparently, unless you have that VHS tape, you can only watch this on YouTube. I know a few people who do, like, acquisitions of titles for some of the Blu-ray release companies, and I'd kind of badger them on Twitter about it. It's like, hey, what about Aberration? Apparently Lionsgate owns this, and Lionsgate does not release or license anything, so this movie will never, ever see a release on DVD or Blu-ray.
Why don't they just put it out through Vestron? I mean, that's what Vestron's for.
It's not an old enough movie for the Vestron line, because the Vestron line is like the 80s, 70s. It's like the 80s era, like
80s and early 90s.
Vestron Video was like an actual label that they used to have, and for the Vestron Video series, I think they're only using actual like Vestron Video titles.
Well, I know that Lionsgate is in a bit of financial straits anyway, and there was talks of Amazon buying them, but Amazon had to go buy MGM instead.
Yeah, I'm worried about that. But
in any case, going over to Brandon, unless you're done.
Anyway, so yeah, you can see this on YouTube currently. It is in crappy quality, but that's the very best you're gonna get.
Glorious 90s FMV quality.
Going over to you.
420p.
Exactly.
Going over to you, Brandon. What was your take on this film?
So I can't remember whether I heard about this from Dustin or not. It's hard to remember. I do remember confusing it with another title, but when I was asking, it's like, so what movies do you think would be really appealing to Dustin? And he brought that up, and I'm like, okay, let me check that out.
Well, and I must have pegged you right, Dustin, with these two films, because I guess I got a spot on.
So I looked at these, and I was I admit the cat killing thing bothered me, but
I kind of forgot about that, so sorry guys.
Same.
But it was all right. It kind of had a Psycho quality at first, where you had this woman who was running from something, much like the woman.
Yeah, it had this backstory to it,
And you knew she was hiding something out there, but they didn't kill her in the first part of the film, which that would have been more interesting to me
That might have made
if
it
they had
better.
done that and then gone with somebody else, then left the cat alive, and you see
Yeah.
the cat survived in a society with these
There you go.
creatures in harmony. But otherwise, I didn't mind the film. I tried to find a DVD copy, and of course, there is a DVD release of this. If you are,
From France.
yes, if you are if you speak fluent French, you can get a French dub. I speak partial French, but not enough without seeing it to read it. And it's just funny that this thing I think was originally recorded in English, but that the only dub they have is the French. Then you have the original language track on it.
It doesn't have the
So-
original language.
Nope, only in French.
Damn.
Which
Jeez.
is
And
it's
it was
just
filmed in
weird.
New Zealand, so we're all over the place. And
But-
well, I think so I'm looking at the Wikipedia here. Yeah, it's almost impossible to find, released on VHS there, never made available in the US or UK on DVD. DVD has been released in other countries such as Japan with both English and Japanese Dolby
Oh.
Digital 2.0 stereo tracks and an aspect
I would
ratio
love to.
of
I'd love to come
4:3.
across them. I never came. The
Really?
only one I came across was a French one, and that was on eBay, but it was
There's a
single
Japan one?
copy.
Well, but here's the other thing. So it's available in France, as we said, Norway, in which the Norwegian DVD has the original language or English language, but the Norwegian subtitles are not removable, which
Oh,
Is-
that'd be
Hard-coded
entertaining.
subs.
is similar to what I ran into when I got the Spanish Blu-ray of Jersey Girl because it's out of print in the U.S. The Spanish Blu-ray, the Spanish subtitles are not removable, which sucks. But then the DVD made its release in Germany in 2012 with both English and German Dolby Digital 2.0 stereo tracks.
So the idea is that hunt yourself down a German copy,
Yeah.
which I'm guessing you got to keep or a Japanese copy. The problem is you've got to really look because I know on eBay the only things I've found are the VHS and the French copy. So yeah, it's that. But I do love having at least I like having as many not copies, just a copy of whatever we discuss. So that really was the most entertaining thing. I thought the film was somewhat amusing. It kind of reminded me of a lower budget Critters.
I could see that,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, mixed with maybe a little bit of Psycho. So I thought it had some potential. They shouldn't have killed the cat. They should have killed the girl instead.
Yes.
Yep.
Otherwise, if they had done that, and then you found out that the cat was actually a secret spy and scientist working with the lizards, this I think would have made the movie my favorite movie to cover on Inside Movies Galore. I love that idea. We need a movie like that.
And
eBay,
if you could have given the cat the voice of Christopher Walken, then
But I
it
did
would have
enjoy
been-
it overall. I thought it was enjoyable overall in that sense. Otherwise,
This seems like a movie that would have, and probably is, for all I know, probably is one of those movies that you would see, because like at various either comic book conventions or especially horror conventions, they always have those dealers that always deal in the bootleg DVDs and stuff, usually from movies that were only ever released on VHS that they rip to DVD. This seems like one of those movies that would probably be heavily circulated in the
This would be a
bootleg
really
circuits.
prime candidate for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Forrest, was this a first time watch for you or
Yep, first time watch. First time even hearing about this movie. I
It's
think
the
you
best killer lizard movie you've never heard of.
guys, right?
That's
Yeah,
what I
that's
tell
that.
people.
Yeah, I can definitely see like like a little bit of Critters, a little bit of Evil Dead in the Thing. I think it kind of got off to a bit of a slow start, but as it picked up, a lot of good kills and gross out moments. and some other just assorted B movie stupidity that I enjoyed.
I've got my favorite bit of B movie stupidity.
Yeah. That's when I was like taking notes on favorite. Like, there's quite a few moments in here that I actually started like taking notes of potential favorite moments. But yeah, I'm surprised how this movie completely just flew as as you're pointing out, Dustin, it was like it was a mainstay on sci-fi for a long time, but never got ported to any has not available on any home format in the US in North America, which is quite shocking. But yeah, this is not too shabby creature feature.
Okay.
The movie really gets into bizarro territory after we get through like the midpoint.
Mhm.
After like the midpoint, things get really bizarre, and more so in terms of characterization rather than necessarily the creatures, even though they too do evolve into weirder and weirder areas, although not anywhere near as bizarre as John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
But it was more so like characters were acting really bizarre
Yeah.
in spots that I was like, where in the hell did that acting choice come from?
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Well, myself, this was a first time watch for me. I had actually never seen it before, and I as well. I'm sorry to say, but the main actress, she had that cotton pink hair, and I hate pink as a color. I absolutely can't stand the color pink. It is an annoying color, and that shade on a short pixied woman was not at all sexy at all.
And this was before the singer Pink came on the scene, even though the hairstyle was the same.
Pink hasn't even been pink in 20 years.
I know, but it was the same hairstyle and the same shade of pink on a similar looking girl. Even though I made the joke she was not Anne Heche, but it's like, oh, it's not Anne Heche trying to play Pink in the Pink biopic.
And I felt like the main two actors did not get along whatsoever at all.
They did not have
like in the very beginning.
No chemistry.
No, zero chemistry. So when they actually got along, it was like, since when?
Yeah.
So, and even then, it was still awkward. It was an awkward couple, and when he, it's like two opposites should never be together, and they still shouldn't be together by the end of the film, and yet somehow they were, and then suddenly she became a badass with guns, and it's like, what the fuck?
And he gets fucking crazy by the end.
Yeah.
He totally loses his mind. Like, I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, but I was like,
his transformation made more sense, and I think was more entertaining. Hers kind of saved the movie because she was such a hateful character before that. Yeah. But on the other hand, it made no sense.
It's like when she turned her hair back to blonde is when she became a better character.
Maybe that was code there, Dave. But his whole arc was like, so he's supposed to be like the lovable geek, but again, I was like, this is like he reminded me physically and in his acting style, reminded me so much of Christian Slater, and it's like this guy doesn't really come across as a geek, number one. But then, he goes just off the deep end by the end, and I'm just like, and he does it in such a way that I'm like, you really have lost your fucking mind, haven't you?
This would be an example. This would be a character where if they had gotten Nicolas Cage, it would have been perfection.
Nicolas Cage is the male lead.
to get
The
to
cat,
Nicolas Cage.
yeah, Nicolas Cage is the lead. The cat's voiced by Christopher Walken. You got killer lizards. Now you got a movie.
Yep.
And I'm going to be honest. I'm actually the opposite of you guys. I actually enjoyed when they killed the cat. I love animals. I love animals, but somebody had to die grotesquely first, and to be honest, I understood it. So it's not that I wanted it to die or anything like that, because I really think that for the first half of the movie, it carried the film.
Oh yeah. Narratively, it makes sense. Narratively, it makes sense because the cat was the only intelligent character. It was the only one that realized there was a threat, so it had to be eliminated.
Well, I still had to cover Ash and Erebus's eyes because they were so traumatized. And I said, it was only a movie, kids. It's only a movie.
How about that insane gunplay when Yuri suddenly realized that there were these creatures here, you know?
I need to get out in the country more.
Which, oh my God. So we had like... Not to jump the gun, but it's like we had a fucking super soaker attached to her back, made it look like a fucking proton pack there. We had a gun, which was that an actual gun or was it like a BB gun or something? Because it wasn't loud enough.
They had a BB gun at
That's
first.
what I thought. And then you had the boyfriend who was like out of fucking Desperado with the 2 pistols, and I'm like, you're in a totally different movie, my friend. You know,
it's like we had the Crow show up in the film, you know. So, I thought that when he started shooting like left and right, that was pretty insane. What did y'all? Actually. And one of the things that I mentioned in our chat was the fact that when the geckos actually communicated with each other, that reminded me of a moment that happened in a film later on with raptors in Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
So
Clever
to me,
girl.
I feel like Jurassic Park 3 stole it from this film.
Although
I'm sure they did.
Technically, the raptors communicated with each other in the first one.
Yeah.
It wasn't that often, but they did that. You know, that whole sound.
They made very clear in the book, and they did make clear in the film, but they made very clear in the books that the raptors were highly vocal and did communicate a lot. So that definitely was well before the third film.
Yeah. Which, although Dave, maybe they could talk, but just not in a range that people could hear, just like the anaconda. I mean, they both have Frank Welker's voice, so why not?
Right.
Maybe they were trying to communicate with the anaconda, get it some help. You know, hey,
Yeah, call
anaconda,
for
we need
reinforcements.
some,
Right.
So
that should not have made me laugh as much as it did.
Okay.
We need to back up a little bit, because I think we need to go through a bit of the plot. While our good geek of a guy is
our GGG.
Yeah. While he's out evidently gathering information about the local life in the area, he realizes
He's a biologist
that something,
out doing a survey on
Yeah.
the local wildlife, and he's kind of he's
Mhm.
noticing that there's a distinct lack of local wildlife.
Right.
Despite all the trees and things.
Which he says repeatedly that he talks to.
But on the other hand, she Amy, believes that, well, she's Amy at the time. She believes that there is some rodent or something in her home,
Mhm.
because
right.
evidently she was tried to eat some cake and
Mhm.
found there was something in it. So she goes to the local store, grabs some bug zapper or bug.
So she gets
poison
the
or whatever.
trap first.
Yeah.
And she gets like a shitload of traps at one point. And
Right.
then that's when the checkout person tries to upsell her the bug spray, and that's where the heavy duty bug spray, and she's like, no thanks. Which honestly, I can't 100% blame her, because when you have
No.
a pet, you have to think about, oh, what if they accidentally smell it or taste it or whatever.
Right.
And that stuff can be nasty in just multiple ways too.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
You just don't want to.
Oh yeah.
Well, and it's about this point that her bug takes a croak, which apparently is a piece of jalopy, anyways. So I guess our
Her bug meaning her Volkswagen Beetle.
yes, her beetle. I call it a bug.
Yeah. Well, just for the audience at home.
But and I had completely forgotten that Volkswagens their engines were in back.
Yeah.
So, for that model, yeah. But then once
Yeah.
they did the new Beetles, they put them in the front.
Mhm.
Yeah, my
But,
father actually had one for
Mhm.
many years.
Well, and Porsches generally their engines are in the back as well.
But in any case, he shows up and offers her and actually calls himself the local taxi driver or whatever.
Mhm.
And they end up going back to her place, and
Mhm.
she they basically find
Mhm.
the creature, and she's about to flip a lid, because that's when the cat has
They got to
When
the
the-
cat.
uprighted.
Mhm.
What do we think about the moments with the cat?
They
The
actually
cat's
show
the
you.
best
They actually
character.
show you the cat, which is kind of. They don't usually do that. It's kind of a jarring moment.
The
Mhm.
cat was the best character, one that my
Right.
own cats could have looked up to if only this movie hadn't dashed their dreams so cruelly.
Well, it's like I said, the cat knows from the get-go something's up. It's like the moment they go into the cabin, he's like, no, no, and she just ignores him.
Well,
Goes
she
about
calls
her
him
thing.
Frank. She calls him Frankie when he knows damn well his name is Merlin.
Well, yeah.
Well, you can fool any numbers of people with different colored hair who are transporting money that may or may not be illicit. You can fool all of them all day long, but you can't fool a cat.
Right.
Well, so when Yuri came along, she should have said the cat did it.
Yeah.
But in any case, so what do we think about Amy as a person?
She sucks.
She did. She made, I made the I made the comparison earlier to Gone with the Wind. Y'all have heard my spiel about how much I hate Scarlett O'Hara. I actually liked Amy less than her before her personality changed.
Damn, really?
Yes, I did not
Yeah.
like her.
She was kind of.
I didn't care for her either. I mean, I don't think I'll defend Scarlett O'Hara to death, because I mean, she is supposed to be unlikable and spoiled, and even when she rises up, even then she is still very unlikable. But again, I think it serves the point of the film very beautifully. I don't really see as much socially redeeming value in this person.
Okay,
I
why?
mean, once
Once
Yuri,
unlikable?
well,
Why?
she's just a bitch.
She
I mean,
kind of had this attitude.
well, yeah, and again, once Yuri shows up, you understand what she's running from.
Yeah.
One big, and I think crucial difference between this and Psycho is that in Psycho, you know exactly what the woman's running from. You know exactly what she's done. You know exactly where mostly where she's coming from. It's you're not left wondering what is her damage.
Yeah.
This one, yeah.
It's funny because like with Psycho, like I saw that movie so many times growing up, and it's one of those things that you don't really examine until you're older. But like,
Right.
when I watched it the most recent time and I really studied it, and especially relative to like the gender politics of the time and stuff, she's somebody who, well, is heavily repressed, sexually and everything, having to be all, illicit with Sam Loomis and stuff, but she's also like feeling the strain of what was unquestionably the patriarchy of 1960. So as ill thought out as her plan was, it was kind of an attempt to strike back at her situation, which you could say is a little bit similar here with like her trying to get away from her boyfriend and everything. It's just, it's not quite as fleshed out. We don't really reveal it until after the halfway point, and by that time we're so kind of off board with her, because she seems like the kind of person that we wouldn't really want to get to know or root for, even if she wasn't running from her admittedly crazy boyfriend, which is not the same with Marion Crane, who seems like a perfectly ordinary person who just happened to do a really dumb, impulsive thing one day and then had to pay the consequences for it.
And I'll give her this.
Mhm.
I feel like we didn't really get to know her as well as we should have.
Yeah.
I feel that was more of a writing issue than a character issue, which of course becomes a character issue really and truly at the end of it all. But I mean,
technically a writing issue and a character issue they're heavily connected, but I get what you're saying is like more of like a characterization rather than a plotting issue, which I agree we could have probably gotten to get more of a sense of her personality and why we should care about her before we even necessarily have to know exactly why she has the money that she has and why she's there and all that stuff. I mean, the only thing that's really all that appealing about her is just the fact that she has a cat in the first place, which that
likes
of
the
course,
cat.
and that of course, gets undone relatively quickly. But again, it's one of those things where I think this could have been, you had the pieces for what could have been a richer character if you'd have put it in the hands of people that could have really squeezed all the potential out of it, because in terms of like in front of the camera and behind the camera, because the caliber of actors in this is not that great either, because like especially in the middle, that's where you get a lot of reactions from people that are like, wow, they could have definitely gone with a better take on that one, or wow, they gave a really unintentionally funny line read there.
Indeed.
Okay.
What do we care about Marshall as a character?
I think he's cool. I like his character.
Yeah, he's goofy and he's just really overly goofy, but he's kind of likable. I mean,
I like him more than her.
Yeah, and I can relate to him a little bit. The whole wandering around talking to trees, I can relate to that.
And I agree with you, Dane, about him being kind of like a Christian Slater-like character.
He looks so similar.
Yeah, he does. I think his quirkiness is kind of offsetting. But it's relatable in a sense where you can understand his nerdiness a little.
Well, the comparison I made for her with Anne Heche was partially due to the fact that Anne Heche played Marion Crane in the Psycho remake, and that also involved the woman that runs away with illicit money and that kind of stuff. So I mean, that was definitely in my head as well, and that was the very next year after this.
I think she also kind of sort of reminded me of the French film by Alexander Aja, High Tension.
Yeah.
The Cecile de France, who played Marie, in there. I thought she kind of looked like her a little bit. But other than that, what do we think about the creatures themselves?
They're definitely the best part of the movie, and they admittedly their special effects have to be a little bit more small scale, quite literally small scale, but also in terms of budget. But they managed to make do with what they have, and it's a different threat when you've got because we did a giant anaconda, giant creature in its natural habitat in the last film. And here we've got these rapidly evolving smaller creatures that are not in their natural habitat but are rapidly adapting to be better suited for their environment. So it's a different set of circumstances.
Yeah,
You're saying something, Dustin? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They look... You don't really get a great look at them, which I think is a good idea on the filmmaker's part in most of the scenes, because near the end you get a good look at one of the props under strong light at the end, and it doesn't hold up that well. But most of the time you get extreme close-ups and just quick cuts, and that's where the lizards really hold up and look very convincing.
I like a lot of the different shots where you get what they're seeing when they're coming towards you, or they're looking or they're coming in your direction. Where it looks like they're coming towards either Amy or Marshall, or vice versa, or even in the convenience store where he could see the old lady, the creature, and
I think the convenience store was probably one of the best when it comes to them fighting the creatures. I really like that scene.
Yeah, I like the whole thing with the convenience store just because of I have two favorite moments, but the convenience store thing has to win the gold medal for batshit craziness in the film.
I would have to say if I had a favorite scene, I would think the whole shooting up of that Yuri did afterwards, and he was like, "I have to come to the country more often."
Yeah, that was pretty
that scene shows that though they can evolve to be immune to smaller caliber weapons, they cannot evolve beyond a certain caliber.
Right.
Well, and in order to defeat batshit crazy creatures, you have to be a little batshit yourself.
Right. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Exactly. Sometimes just one time can be enough. Which, I mean, again, I have to say the boyfriend, just as a character, he really felt like he stepped out of Desperado. And it's like, so he is just in this movie, okay, and he is handling his guns very adeptly, and he's just not fazed that there are these lizards and shit crawling around. He just shoots them, and then he's like, what are these things anyway? And he's like a shoot first and ask questions later kind of guy.
He's the most over-the-top actor in the whole thing, too.
Yeah, he is.
But
I mean, he takes his role seriously. He takes his role seriously.
Yeah, he doesn't. It's over the top, but at the same time, he doesn't sleepwalk through it. That's for sure. Because it would have been a lot worse if he'd have done that.
Hmm.
Oh,
Well,
he
yeah.
brings so much fun to the role. It just was great.
Exactly. Because I mean, there's like, yeah, you can have an actor who's over the top or whatever, but like, I will take over the top over a sleepwalking, later period Bruce Willis type performance any day of the week.
Right.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Anyways.
More like yippee-ki-yay, whatever. Give me my paycheck.
His head explosion was a pretty cool moment too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I thought the last explosion was pretty cool. Them finding the eggs underneath the mattress, that part was kind of cool.
Now the part that I thought was pretty realistic to real animal infestations of various sorts is the fact that they get away from the cabin, they have their car trouble, and it turns out that they were hanging out in the engine there. That part was pretty realistic to real animal infestations, just because it was the cult director John Waters was recounting how he had to get some car repairs because a whole nest of rats was living in the engine. And it's like, so that sort of thing really happens, especially in the cold weather, and that's why it's the cold places in the country and on the planet. If you have cats, especially, you have to be really, really, really careful because they tend to like to sleep in or under cars because they're warm, and it's like you have to make sure that they don't get in the engine or near it, or they don't fall asleep and then it gets cold and then they freeze to the car and they get stuck, because that can happen.
Another reason to keep your cats indoors.
Exactly.
I was expecting this to have some comedy there for a moment, because then they would have started to play whack-a-mole or something like that.
Oh, that would have been fun.
If this had been a pre-Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson film, then it most definitely would have gone there.
But I also felt like the gecko in the leg thing. That was something else.
That was pretty batshit, which I have to say, there were certain moments in this movie that left me scratching my head, partially out of just how over the top it got, but also partially just out of why would you think to do that? But it's like, okay, yeah, so she's got the creature in her leg, and they're in a convenience store, so it's not like they're and like a small town one, and a lot of the small town convenience stores, they tend to have to be really jam packed with all kinds of stuff that a big city convenience store probably wouldn't have, because it's more like an old school general store. But bottom line, they would probably have the thing that I'm thinking of, which is, I kept asking myself, why doesn't he just ask her for needle nose pliers or something that he could just pry it out with? Because essentially that's like having a big splinter or like a metal shrapnel in your leg. That's what it amounts to. It just happens to be alive, but it's similar size and everything. But it's you would think your first instinct would be just ask, where's the toolkit? Where are the needle nose pliers? I'll try and pry this thing out. Because it's probably not going to go anywhere. I mean, it's because it's not burrowing any further. It seems to be kind of stuck. But instead he wants to really go at her leg there, and it's you do realize that you're going to cause damage that's even worse than what that thing's going to do, right? It's like you're trying to kill a flea on a dog's back by shooting throwing a grenade at it. You know what I mean?
Well, he's kind of starting to go crazy at this point.
Yeah, and that's exactly why he's doing it. But then I'm like, holy fuck, when did this happen? He just fucking lost it.
The way I feel,
I really enjoy that little moment where he's pulling it out, and then the spikes pop out, and he's like, "Oh, of course."
I know. And I was like, man, this guy's gone completely nuts. Which, if you wanted to go that route, again, as we mentioned before, perfect casting for a Nicolas Cage type, because that would have been a dream right there.
Well,
If you
don't
were
mind
to if you were to go the guy goes nuts route, which that was about the only way that I was like, because otherwise you would never think to get that thing out of her leg doing what he does. It's like you would think you would just get some needle nose pliers or something similar and just pry it out because I guess the only fear would be, oh, what if it burrows in deeper? But it's like then you go to the nuclear option instead of going straight there.
The way I feel
I kind
about
of assumed
go
that's
ahead.
what was happening.
Yeah. Well, but it looked like it was just kind of there, though, because I kept expecting it to dig in further, which would have necessitated that kind of reaction. But it seemed like it was just kind of stuck there. And that could have been partially a special effects budget issue rather than a story issue.
That's what I
Brandon,
thought.
you were going to say something?
Not that I can think of at this point.
Okay. Well, I was thinking that the geckos kind of remind me of the Zombievers.
We gotta talk
Just a
about
little
that
bit.
movie.
Zombie.
That's a great movie.
But
We cannot be fighting amongst ourselves. That is exactly what the Beavers would want. Greatest line in a movie ever.
But in any case, so ultimately, at the end of the day, what do we think about the production here?
Pretty good overall, especially considering how low budget this thing looks.
They seem to do a good job of faking New Zealand for the U.S.
I think it's supposed to be
they-
set in like Michigan, and it does look like Michigan.
Yeah.
Well, and he's wearing a Michigan University shirt, so I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it said on his shirt at least Michigan University or some shit like that.
Which, it's still listed as like a USA. Actually, no, sorry. It says how like the films they can usually be a whatever production, but then they're filmed in whatever country. But this actually is a New Zealand and U.S. co-production, not just filmed in New Zealand.
And I should probably say the director's name, Tim Boxell, which apparently he's been part of the visual effects of Virtuosity. He was some of the additional crew on the Golden Child. He was some of the art department of the Right Stuff, and I guess he was the director of a segment in an anthology called Creep Tales. So,
well, and if we're doing shout outs, we might as well shout out our leading lady, who I jokingly referred to as not Anne Heche, but her real name is Pamela Gidley, and she was in the skating movie Thrashin'. She was in Highway to Hell. She was in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, which is pretty cool. She played a character named Teresa Banks. She was in the 1998 Jim Abrams spoof movie Mafia, also known as Jane Austen's Mafia.
She was Cherry 2000 and Cherry 2000.
Yeah.
Oh, all fun movies.
Yeah. And she was on an episode of The Closer, which was a good show.
Dottie Thompson and the Little Vampire.
Yeah. And of course, her final film role, because she's no longer with us, unfortunately, her final film role was in the deleted and extended scenes of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me that were re-edited together into Twin Peaks: The Missing Pieces.
Oh yeah, definitely. She had an interesting pre-Aberration period. So, but in any case, did anyone want to point out one of their favorite scenes? Dane, did you say yours?
I think in terms of sheer batshit insanity, the climax in the convenience store is pretty good. I think that I did not take notes of I should have, but mostly the scenes in the middle. There were a lot of scenes in the middle that that had a lot of lines of dialogue that I was like, wow, this is totally like MST3K type material. But the one line that does stick out in my memory, that would be another favorite of mine, another favorite scene, was, okay, so they make a big deal out of our hero. He gets, we talked about Jurassic Park there a little bit. Our hero gets the acid in his eyes. He can't see. It's a big deal. And it, seems to make it to where things are going to be harder for her because he's the biologist and, presumably the guide through the danger. And then he gets taken out, in effect, because he's got the acid in the eyes. And you think, oh boy, he's debilitated. They don't have a chance, blah, blah, blah. And then they have a nice little cuddle session. No sex, but just little cuddle session. And wakes up in the morning, and then all of a sudden, oh boy, I can see again because the plot needs me to. And that whole thing made me laugh because I kind of thought, oh shit, this guy is blind. That's going to be harder for them to get out of this thing. How are they going to manage that? And then all of a sudden, but he was taking it remarkably well. And then of course, he does get his sight back, and it's like, oh well, that's the end of that, I guess.
Okay. What about you, Dustin? Is there a favorite scene that you would like to put out there?
It's really hard for me to pick a favorite from this because I just enjoy so much of it. I think maybe the fish tank scene when the gills pop out.
That was a cool moment there because then they were like, well maybe it'll stop breathing.
Well, and then it gets followed up by even more batshit craziness when she throws the lamp in there, and then boom, the thing blows up.
Okay. What about you, Forrest? Is there a favorite scene that you'd like to shout out there?
All right. Okay. There's I had a few of them. First one was
took notes, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. One where the guy was getting venom. He got venom in his face, and then he put like a propane tank in the oven, and shoots it and sets himself on fire.
He does the big action movie line, and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That was so stupid but funny. And then also I think the guy's name is Uri. He had like the creatures were getting in his mouth, all in him, and they just blew his head. They just blew his head off to kill the creatures.
that was insane. Yeah, that was. How about you, Jake? If there was a favorite scene there for you?
Hard to say. I really. I'm not sure.
At what point did you start enjoying the movie?
Good question.
Like I said, I think there was that point where it's kind of like the writing needed them to become different characters, and so they did. I think some of the interchanges with Yuri, even though it was like at that point, it was like as soon as he showed up, it felt like if the film had not already jumped the shark, it definitely did then. But it was a fun ride while it lasted. As long as Yuri was there, it was fun. So, and I did like his line about I need to get out in the country more often. I did like that. So maybe that's it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I really feel like he and Antonio Banderas should have stood in the middle of the town square and been like, "Let's play," and then they shoot up the place.
Yeah.
What about you, Brandon? Is there a particular favorite scene?
I of course I like the scene in the general store at the end. Actually, I really like most of the general store scenes. I like the woman there. She's like, Yeah, I know it's illegal, but I still got a little bit here. You wear this backpack to just take out the critters. I don't know. I like her as a general character, so I enjoy the interactions there. But that scene at the end where they're fighting it off, it's just so crazy.
I mentioned the super soaker with the
Yeah.
bug spray in it, and it's like, wow, really? And then a BB gun, and it's like, well, okay. I mean, at the very least, they're not doing the Evil Dead thing with like the shotgun and then the chainsaw and that kind of stuff. Because if they'd have done that, then that would have been a ripoff for sure. But I can't say I've ever seen the super soaker with the bug spray on the backpack and the BB gun combo before.
Yeah, this isn't the first time I've seen a super soaker used as a weapon, though. There was the Ernest Scared Stupid where they were using it with the milk and whatever.
Yeah, well, I remember that, but not with a BB gun combo.
Right.
And that was a children's film, so I mean that's a little different,
Oh yeah. Okay.
But then again, that came out. I think that came out 3 years before this, and I wonder if they borrowed that idea.
I thought that came out in 91.
No, I think 91 was Ernest Goes to Jail.
Or I wasn't really of the Ernest generation, so I'm kind of learning about it all secondhand. But
Yeah, I mean,
we need to make sure. Like oh yeah, you're right. It was 91. When did Ernest Goes to
Come to think of it, we've only covered one Ernest film. I think we've covered Christmas. That's it.
Yeah, we need to do more.
What did we think about the soundtrack of the film?
this didn't really have any music.
And, it does have a soundtrack. To be honest, it does have a soundtrack.
It does.
Evidently, Cruise Control by the Headless Chickens, which was on Mushroom Records. Let's see. Walk This World by Heather Nova, performed by Heather Nova. Dogs Are the Best People by the Fowls. Strips of You, performed by the Super Jesus. Paper Cup, performed by Andy McDonald and the Sinners. And Silver Lizard, performed by Tumbleweed. So, interesting music.
And the Oscar-winning song performed by Celine Dion during the end credits.
Yeah, of course.
In any case, did anyone else have anything else to add?
See this movie on YouTube while you can, in case it gets taken down.
That's true.
Be sure to search for Aberration 1997, because there's a lot of random things titled Aberration out there.
And maybe
a lot of things called Aberration.
There's a child horror film called Aberration as well. So do not mistake that for this.
And maybe eventually they will extricate this from the legal quagmire that is currently Lionsgate's holdings, and we might see the Criterion tinfoil release or something like that.
maybe Echo Bridge or Mill Creek.
I could see I could see this.
I could see
Arrow.
Multi-pack.
I could see a multi-pack with this. So, like, if they say 20 horror films that I could see it in one of those,
like a Mill Creek thing. Yeah, I can see that.
Or Echo Bridge.
Yeah, like some kind of killer creature
or Rift Track.
Yeah, Rift Tracks. Which, I was gonna say, see this movie if you want to see essentially a '90s FMV game. In terms of the quality of the video and the acting and the genre and all that good stuff.
Alrighty, so I think that's it. Unless anyone else has something.
No.
Okay, then.
Protect your cats from any and all dangers, especially of the mutating lizard variety.
Stay away from the Geico caveman.
Yeah, that's it.
In any case, thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are. And hopefully you like, share, and subscribe. But we do have our outros of saying exactly who we are. So,
Mhm.
why don't we start with you, Dane, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Dane Kyle, filmmaker, YouTuber on indie horror film creative, and contributor on this show from time to time, trying to get back more into the swing of things because the job that I have is a wonderful job. I love it, but it was kind of, making me readjust my schedule, get into the new rhythm, and I think I've got it now. So trying to get back into it. But yeah, you can find me on Indie Horror Film Creative and on Facebook and everywhere that books are sold.
Alrighty. Going over to you, Forrest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, Forrest Bennett. I'm an independent film producer based in Long Island, New York. Actually, a feature that I was associate producer on, Bloody Summer Camp, written and directed by Dave Kerr. I'm currently currently in Virginia at the moment. We had the premiere of Bloody Summer Camp in Fredericksburg, and then I was on Brandon and Jake's YouTube channel yesterday.
Nice.
In person.
Yes, in person.
Mhm.
Imagine that.
I think we're the first guys on the show to do something in person. And I also appear on a weekly web series called Script Club, where we do dramatic table readings of unproduced film scripts. Right now, we're doing George Miller's dramatic table reading of George Miller's Justice League Mortal, where I play Batman, and that's pretty much what I have going on right now.
Okay. Going over to you, Dustin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I have a YouTube channel. I collect horror movies and horror memorabilia. I haven't gotten to go out for quite a very long time. So my channel hasn't been updated in a while. I'm the Crypt of Horrors on YouTube. But we're hoping to have some new stuff within the next month or so. I also have an Instagram, the Crypt of Horrors. And you can find me on Twitter as Der Cryptaxis, which is shorter and easier to find. Yeah, it's pretty much all there is to me. So I haven't been able to be on the show for a while, and we're trying coming back. So
I know the feeling.
Alrighty, so going over to Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm SeptumSin of SeptumSin versus the World. We love our physical media. We are all about keeping you informed about what's coming out. We do that every week. We do pickup videos. There are reviews on the channel. I have been doing some Let's Plays on the channel. Right now, we're in the midst of some Alan Wake content. We recorded a few parts of that with me and my wife. So we've got that coming out. Of course, we had Forrest on with us today for our new releases, and we also have a video coming out tomorrow where he shares our pickups with us. So those are going to be some fun things to get on there. It's always cool having collaborations with different people in person. And also, I work with Inside Movies Galore, where I help with the schedule. Of course, our Meet the Cast month has ended with Dustin, but that doesn't mean that June is over. We have some birthday celebrations to go over. So our next week is going to be all about Dave's birthday. And but I'm going to let him tell you what those two are when he does his outros. He's going to be last, so he'll tell you what we're doing next week for his birthday. And as far as next month, we do have a theme. We're going to be switching to the one video a week, and but we're also going to be doing. Somebody's got something going on in the background. well, we're going to be doing a John Candy centered month. So it's going to be really
Ooh.
fun.
Yep.
And we're taking suggestions now from our cast and crew, and hopefully we'll have a voting section up, and by the end of the month we're going to have a cool set.
Who can take a sunrise, sprinkle it with dew? The candy man. The candy man can.
Hey, Willy Wonka's coming out with a 4K at the end of the month.
I know.
In any case, going over to Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, I'm Kotobukijake. I'm co-host, as was stated, of SeptumSin versus the World. And yes, we did enjoy having our guest yesterday. It was good times, and it was really fun to mix things up a little bit and meet folks you've been talking to for a good while. So, Forrest, thanks again for showing up. And we, I collect movies. I try to watch them. I don't have a lot of time to do so, but all the films I have to watch for this channel, I don't get a lot of time to watch my own. Not to mention our 26 episode anime Brandon picked for us, so I still got to watch this month. And the getting ready to try and been trying to build a business. RVA Homegrown Natives is having our first actual market sale tomorrow. So yay, it'll be really fun. And yeah, so but in the meantime, it's always fun to come on this channel. And Dustin, apologies if I showed less enthusiasm tonight than I might have.
No, that's fine. I'm aware that this isn't a fantastic movie, even though I really enjoy it.
Yeah, well,
it's fun to get different viewpoints. That's my feeling, and so it's always I think it's good to mix it up a little.
I think we were all in agreement that the creatures themselves, which are the highlight of the thing, that they were all. We all agreed that they were great.
Yeah, that's what makes this movie cool. So.
Yeah. My complaints are more so with characterization, with some of the, baffle there are fun B movie things, and then there are other aspects of B movies that you're like, okay, that was like more baffling than it was anything else. But
alrighty. Yeah. And my name is David Streggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So hopefully you have enjoyed our film journey so far. I am relatively surprised we're still going here. We have been going for quite a long time, and I think we've got a good group here to spend time with weekly. It really is fantastic to have you guys along with me. So, but I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where I go on about my own video pickups and my own video reviews. I've got a couple of reviews out, and I've got a couple of video pickups out there. So if you wanted to check those out. But next week, like Brandon has said, I have some birthday choices, even though this Thursday is my birthday. We'll be covering my birthday choices next.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Yes, happy birthday.
How old are you now? 1775?
Well, as old as Methuselah. Anyways, at least I feel like I am. But a very old 37. So
37.
Yeah.
37.
37.
I'm 37. I'm not old. Well, I can't just call you bad. You could say Dennis. I didn't know you were called Dennis.
I looked up the full names of your stuff now that I have it.
Okay.
Dave's not here, man. Dave, I'm here with the stuff. No, just kidding. Anyways, but next week, I have chosen for my birthday picks Rana, the legend, or we Dustin and I know this film well.
Oh yeah, the Bill Urbane movie.
Yes, and also to probably show off my Bill Urbane box set. But in any case, I figured we'll go on about that. But the other film that I wanted us to go on about is called Franklin: A Sympathy of Pain. It's a film from 2015, and it is an independent film, but I loved it. So I wanted to share it with us, and it does go crazy a little bit. So it is an independent artsy. So.
Yes.
Well, I've not heard of either one, so we'll have to dive into it.
Dane, I think that you will actually like this one.
Nice.
Don't get me wrong here. I mean, you can check it out. If you don't like it, sue me. But
Okay. I'll pay you for everything you got.
just $25. I'll get it to you by this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and enjoy.
Not at all.
Night.